The competitiveness of the NRL leaves little room for error for its 16 clubs. No one player defines whether their team will be successful, but in some cases their individual success plays a significant role to whether their team excels. In this video, I will highlight the key player for all 16 NRL teams for this upcoming 2021 season. For the Brisbane Broncos, it's Anthony Milford. When Milford is at the peak of his powers, he is almost unstoppable. In 2015, he led the Broncos to the grand final with his dazzling footwork and rapid speed. He showed incredible talent in his debut season for the Broncos in 2015 as he and Ben Hunt complemented each other perfectly in the halves. As time has gone on, he has regressed significantly. This could be blamed on the continuing turmoil in Brisbane over the past few seasons, but when you are getting paid $900,000, you are expected to rise above these issues and perform. Milford's resurgence is more than just returning to the dynamic player he once was. Milford actually needs to show leadership and bring consistency into his game. The Broncos can't afford flash-in-the-pan performances, they need week in week out success by the 5'8". The Broncos conceded the most points and were the second worst in attack in 2020. Milford has a big say in whether their offense succeeds, and with the hiring of Kevin Walters, he will want to prove to the new coach that he is the man to guide the Broncos back into a powerhouse. For the Canberra Raiders, it's George Williams. In 2020, the English international proved that he was no slouch. Amassing an impressive 15 assists and 7 tries in 22 appearances, Williams put his name in the upper echelon of halfbacks in 2020. His tackling ability is often overlooked too, with Williams tackling 21 times per game with an efficiency of 88.4%, an excellent statistic for a halfback. Williams did have small dips throughout the season where he went missing on offense. He finished 14th in total assists and 20th in engaging the line, which are statistics that could be improved upon if he wants to solidify himself in the top tier of halfbacks in the NRL. All in all, Williams had a great rookie NRL season, which he will look to build upon in 2021. With a year in Australia under his belt and increased involvement in the offense, Williams could be the difference maker in Canberra's push for the grand final. For the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, it's Luke Thompson. Canterbury in 2020 put their faith into Super League star Luke Thompson by signing him to an $800,000 per year deal. We got to see half a year of Luke Thompson in 2020 where he wasn't spectacular. I'd put a lot of this down to him not having a proper preseason with the Bulldogs and having to quarantine after signing. Thompson could form a formidable partnership with Dylan Napa, which could dominate the competition. The Bulldogs' offense is desperate for some go forward as it was stagnant throughout most of last season, finishing last in points scored. An aggressive forward pack could only help Trent Barrett resolve the Bulldogs' attacking issues. Thompson breaking the line will give more time and space for the Bulldogs' halves, who will need it seeing they are so inexperienced. If the Bulldogs are going to make an attempt at returning to finals football, their $800K man, Luke Thompson, will have to be firing on all cylinders. For the Cronulla Sharks, it's Wade Graham. The Australian international and current Cronulla Sharks captain has been amongst the most dominant second rowers of this decade in the NRL. His industrious attitude in attack and on defense, combined with his leadership and skillful ball playing, has given Graham this excellent reputation throughout the game. In 2020, we saw a slight regression by Graham, who struggled defensively, missing a total of 53 tackles throughout the 2020 season. He led his team in this statistic, and this was poor for a player that is normally considered solid in defence. Graham also missed the New South Wales squad entirely in 2020, which was a questionable snub, but gives Graham a point to prove to Brad Fittler. This is not to say that Graham wasn't still good for the Sharks in 2020, but they just need more from him. Sharks head coach John Morris is the coach under the most pressure this year, and he's relying on the captain to play exceptionally well if they are to move from mid-table mediocrity into the top 4. For the Gold Coast Titans, it's Ashley Taylor. It is no secret that the Gold Coast Titans' highest paid player has not lived up to the 7-figure salary that he was given in October of 2017. Taylor's personal issues had him sidelined and underperforming through the majority of 2019, and there were questions if he would return to the sport. Many fans had already written his career off, but through perseverance, Taylor has returned to the halves and has slowly started to return to form. It should help propel the Titans to their first top 8 appearance in 5 seasons. For the Manly Sea Eagles, it's Tom Trbojevic, level with his electric speed and nose for the try line. He has also been the perfect partner for Daly Cherry Evans, popping up in the backline in attack, providing double-digit try assists in 2016, 17 and 2018. The past 2 seasons, Trbojevic hasn't been as dominant outside of his outstanding performances for New South Wales. Injuries derailed both 2019 and 2020 with Tommy Turbo playing 19 out of a possible 46 games. Unfortunately, this has been the reoccurring story for Tom, with 3 hamstring injuries and a pectoral injuries in only the last 2 seasons. We saw in 2019 how crucial he is to Manly as the Sea Eagles won 10 out of the 12 games. For the Melbourne Storm, it's Jerome Hughes, 2019 season at fullback, shifting to halfback in 2020, showing his versatility. After a season in the 7 jumper, it's safe to say that Hughes is a very capable halfback who fits in Melbourne's system incredibly well. His all-round attacking game gives Munster more space and time on the ball, as defences now have to worry about the dual threat of both Munster and Hughes. With the expected retirement of the legend Cameron Smith, Hughes will assume more responsibility in the offence. This could potentially help or hinder Hughes depending on how he deals with the pressure. In 2021, I expect the Storm to yet again be dominant, but I really feel their ability to go back-to-back will be heavily situated on Jerome Hughes' shoulders. For the Newcastle Knights, it's Tyson Frizell. The Knights are still considered outsiders for 2021 silverware, but the introduction of Frizell should help their chances. The Newcastle Knights' 2020 second row rotation was Matautia, Fitzgibbons and Guerra, all solid forwards but nothing spectacular. Him running through holes off Ponga and Pearce short balls will be particularly dangerous. If Frizell can contribute at a high level like he has for his whole career, Newcastle might have one of the signings of the 2021 season. For the New Zealand Warriors, it's Chanel Harris-Tavita. The young half has been highly touted through the younger grades for his creative offensive play and crafty footwork. Harris-Tavita in 2020 was put on the interchange bench, slotted behind Blake Griffin in the depth chart. In 2021, he should be given a full clear shot at the 5'8" role as Green departed midway through last season. A full preseason where both Nikorima and Harris-Tavita can work on their combination should prepare Harris-Tavita well. It will be his first season where he will no longer have to fight for his starting position, which should give him confidence. Harris-Tavita's 4 try assists in the final game of 2020 showed a glimpse of his attacking flair. In 2021, the Warriors will be desperate to move into the top 8, and to do that they are going to need consistent performances from their halves. Nikorima was great last year, with it now time for Harris-Tavita to have a breakout season. For the North Queensland Cowboys, it's Michael Morgan. With 12 matches for both Australia and Queensland and a premiership with the North Queensland Cowboys, Morgan has had a storied career. Although since Michael Morgan's Dally M halfback winning season in 2017, he has struggled with injuries and hasn't been able to get back to his best. In 2020, he missed 14 games after undergoing shoulder surgery and tearing his calf. He was desperately missed by the Cowboys as they placed 14th, only 3 spots from the bottom of the table, with only 5 wins. The Cowboys were predicted as a dark horse early in the 2020 season, but the loss of Morgan caused issues as their offense couldn't gel. Another worry for Morgan is his defense, as he looked timid returning from his shoulder injuries which opponents targeted. As Morgan enters his 30s, it's imperative he has a relatively healthy season. His body will only continue to become more fragile, and it would be heartbreaking if injuries continue to keep such a talented individual away from the game. We saw last year that the halves were bare without Morgan, as Clifford and Drinkwater couldn't mesh, struggling in both attack and defence. Michael Morgan in 2021 will be the key to whether the Cowboys can return to winning football. For the Parramatta Eels, it's Mitchell Moses. With Moses the focus of their offence, it's no surprise that he is on the list. The Eels would start the year particularly strong. Through the first 9 rounds, the Eels were the talk of the town, sitting on top of the ladder. As the season progressed, the Eels began to fizzle out. They were still winning games but not convincingly, relying on their forward pack and defence to pull through. Moses saw drops in most of his offensive statistics as he only totaled 8 assists in the entire 2020 season, a huge drop off from the 25 he had in his Dally M Halfback of the Year winning season in 2019. His lack of production could be linked to the more controlled game Moses showed in 2020, as he relied on his kicking game instead of throwing risky cutout balls on the final tackle. He may have swayed too far in the controlled direction in 2020 and away from his instincts, as he would sometimes seem passive on the field. If Moses is able to continue the more mature 2020 season and freestyle game he had in 2019, he could be in for a spectacular season. For the Penrith Panthers, it's Apisai Coruscant. With the star-studded talent the Panthers possess, it may seem silly to have Coruscant as their key player. Although last year we saw a relatively unchanged 2019 Panthers side go from average to amazing with the introduction of just Coruscant and Luai, who could have also taken the spot. Coruscant was the informed player in the competition over the first 5 weeks in the NRL and remained consistently one of Penrith's top players each round. Many forget that Coruscant has premiership winning pedigree, winning the premiership in 2014 with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Apisai was spectacular in defence, coming second in tackles and also contributing well in attack, placing third in dummy half runs. Coruscant stayed relatively healthy throughout 2020, missing only 3 games, being the guy Penrith could rely on. His runs from dummy half created an incredible amount of forward momentum for big men like Fisher Harris and Tamo. The young halves partnership of Cleary and Luai profited off Coruscant's excellent play as they were given great service and more time on the ball. If Coruscant can stay at that same level as he did in 2020, it will help the Panthers' chances tremendously of retaining the minor premiership. For the St George Illawarra Dragons, it's Ben Hunt. Hunt's played for Australia, Queensland and has featured in a grand final. He is no slouch. His overvalued contract has hurt his status within the NRL, but he's still a quality player. His future position at the Dragons really determines how successful he will be for the Dragons for me. Last season at halfback, his performances were so poor he fell onto the interchange bench. When he was moved to hooker though, the performances of the Dragons improved collectively. Hunt has said several times in the media that halfback is his preferred position, which seems reasonable as he's had success there for the Broncos. Other factors that might complicate moving Hunt to hooker is his contract, which was given with Hunt expected to play halfback, and also Cam McGuinness, who is also an excellent hooker. With Anthony Griffin brought in, I expect that Hunt will be given the responsibility of the offense and will be key to the success of the St George Illawarra Dragons. For the South Sydney Rabbitohs, it's Cody Walker. 21 try assists and 10 tries, a great stat line for a 5'8". His outstanding play continued into Origin, where he pushed out Luke Keary, going from the 14 jumper in Game 1 to the 6 jersey in Game 2 and 3. Even with New South Wales losing that series, Walker was one of the better players for the Blues. There are a few players that can turn the game like Walker can. His pure instincts combined with the rapid speed make Walker an essential piece for the Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs look strong for another push for the premiership, with Supercoach Wayne Bennett adding Jai Arrow and Josh Mansell to the lineup. If we see Latrell Mitchell find his feet at fullback and the continued excellent performances of both Walker and Adam Reynolds, the Rabbitohs might be unstoppable in 2020. For the Sydney Roosters, it's Luke Keary. Although the Roosters couldn't three-peat, Keary led an injury-struck East side to a relatively good season. His own game remained relatively unchanged, controlling the game through his decision-making and kicking game. He struggled to find consistency in a halves partner. Flanagan and Lachlan Lamb couldn't hold down spots alongside Keary, and I think it hurt the Roosters a bit. The loss of Victor Radley and Sam Verrills was extremely costly, as they lost industry but also the attacking prowess that both players provide. With both players' injury timetables still not set, it's going to be up to players like Keary and Tedesco to keep this team at a high level. I don't think it would be an understatement to say that Keary was not at his best in 2020. We saw him drop from the Blues side after his debut. This is not to say he was poor, he was still great, but just not at his best. Hopefully in 2021, the Roosters can find a consistent halves partner for Keary, as Keary is essential for the Roosters to return to a premiership. For the West Tigers, it's James Tamou. It would be easy to say Luke Brooks is the key for the Tigers, and I honestly wouldn't disagree. The only reason I omitted Brooks from being the key player is leadership, something that Tamou has in spades. The West Tigers forward pack is young and inexperienced. They also lack size compared to the other NRL sides. Tamou had a resurgence in 2020 with his running metres and post-contact metres at his highest since he was a Kangaroo regular in 2013. For his performances with the Penrith Panthers, he had running metres higher than any West Tigers forward last season, with over 1,000 metres. And even though he is 32, he has showed that he still has representative level form left in him. His 110kg frame is also significant, as he provides a big body that can help defensively, an area where the Tigers really struggled in 2020. Even if he doesn't put up the numbers he did last season, a solid season from Tamou continued with his leadership will be key elements for the West Tigers to return to the top 8. Okay, so that ends the key player for all 16 NRL teams video. I know this is a longer one, but I hope you enjoyed. If you're wanting more NRL mini documentaries, lists, and other Australian sporting content, subscribe now. Also, if you have any other NRL players that you think will be keys this season, comment it down below. Thank you for watching.